Edoven is the word of the day today. Anyways, Yo Coot here, coming back at you with another exciting video. Knife sharpening has become a lot more easier with these drum and block systems, right? Roller and block or drum and block systems. What I like about these is that you can mix and match. You can change the discs. You can be more aggressive or less aggressive. You've got honing sides. You've got grinding sides. I'll explain all that in a minute. Let's talk about what's in the box. So in the box itself, what you've got is, this is the top, this is basically the box itself. You've got the drum in there or the roller. And what I like about this one is that it has like what looks like a porcelain side, which is going to give you a nice finer polishing type of surface. And this side is the aggressive side. This looks like 400 grit or so, which is going to basically shave off the metal as you go. So let me talk about that in a minute. And then you do have your end caps. It's kind of nice that this one goes for the grinding side and this one goes for like the polishing side, so to speak. So it's good that they color coded them, etc. By the way, whenever you set down the drum or the roller, make sure you do set it down on its side, because if you accidentally do one of these with the grinding side, you may end up destroying or damaging your countertop. Remember, it's sandpaper or it's a sanding or grinding type of an element. So make sure you lay down its side to prevent any damage. The block itself, what I like is that you have two different angles. You have a 15-degree angle, and then you also have a 20-degree angle. Why does that matter? So on something like a chef knife, this is a 12-inch Victorinox chef knife, usually 20-degree is the angle that you want. So what that means is that the very, very tippy edge of the knife is going to be at a 20-degree angle. It's kind of sharp and stout, and it holds up well over time, multiple uses. You kind of get a sense of what's going on there. The 15-degree side is more for like your thinner knives. Like this is like a German knife. This could be used for, let's say, sushi cutting if you wanted to use it for that, or for very fine vegetable or produce cutting work. Like you want to make super thin slices of, let's say, a radish or a carrot or something like that. You want that tighter angle, right? So 20, I'm just over exaggerating here, but 20-degree, 15-degree. You want a 15-degree to make a sharper edge, a more finer edge, so that you can get those sharper, nicer, finer cuts. The difference is the 15-degree, right? Because it's so tight, it has the edge has a tendency to roll over and dull quicker. So you need to do more sharpening, more honing, etc., etc. Whereas the 20-degree, because it's a little stouter, holds up better over time. So that's the difference between the 15-degree and the 20-degree. Usually for most purposes, most people at home, I believe you're going to be using the 20-degree. Let's talk about old school versus new school, right? And let's go, we can actually do that with the directions here. So here you have your drummer, your roller, there's your block. It's basically showing you the different angles. Here it's basically showing you how to use the product, which I'm going to demonstrate here in a minute. Here it's showing you that you can replace these. So if you ever wanted to like replace this out with a newer one or a more finer grit, the lower the number, so 400 grit, the more aggressive it's going to be, the more material it's going to take off. The higher the number, the less material it's going to take off, the finer or the softer it's going to be towards your actual knife or your metal that you're trying to sharpen. So 400 grit is definitely more aggressive than, say, 2000 grit. So you kind of get a sense of what's going on there. So then here's the demonstration of how to actually remove the tops and, you know, change out the discs, if you ever wanted to do that, right? If you ever want to change out this one or whatever. And then you've got different languages here. So there's English, there's Italian, I think there's German, Spanish. You kind of get a sense of what's going on, but it's basically telling you what everything is and kind of explaining the block and the whole system and the yada yada. So anyways, very important before you do any work is always make sure your work area is clean and that you tidy up as you go. So basically I'm just going to do one of these, move this over here, just get it out of the way. Clean surface area. I like to do this on the countertop directly, quartz, granite, stainless steel, whatever you have. The reason why I do that is because you're going to get metal shavings, right? And you want to make sure the metal shavings can be easily wiped away and moved away. If you're doing this on a wood cutting board, for instance, all those shavings may end up or go into your wood, which means now you got to sand down the wood to get rid of the metal shavings. What a mess. You don't want to consume those. You don't want to eat those. Like, I know we all need iron in our diets, but that's not the way to get it, right? Kidding, but also serious. Okay, so let's talk about old school. So old school was you had a sharpening stone, which kind of mimics this side, right? And then what you had was you had a honing steel or a honing rod, which basically mimics this side, right? And the way this would work is you would have to guess the angle, or you would have to find the angle of where 20 degrees was or 15 degrees was, and basically pass your knife through and sharpen one side, then do the other side. Then a lot of times for show, you'll see a lot of guys that, or people like service workers on cruise ships, and they'll do like 2 and 2, or they'll do 1 and 1 and 1. Then they'll go to their honing steel and do the same thing. Basically, they're going to hone, and then 2, and then 2, or whatever the case was, right? Lots of work, a lot of guesstimating. How do you know that the 20 degree you're starting at is 20 degree when you end? This kit basically takes the guesswork out of all that and basically gives you a true solid 15 degree or 20 degree. So block goes down, clean work surface. What I like to do is just keep like a moist towel on hand or something similar, just to kind of wipe and make sure like you're all clean. Also make sure you have a clean knife, right? Warm soapy water, wash it, dry it correctly, make sure it's all dry and clean. And then clean work surface area. So let's talk about the grinding and the honing. So what I'm going to do is the block goes down flat to the surface. My knife is going to go flat to the surface and then connect the two. Boom, and now you're connected. If you have a curved knife, right, like a little curved knife, that's maybe a breaking knife, right, super sharp, super thin, what you can do is you can put a cutting board on underneath the block so that the block is on the cutting board and the knife is actually hanging right in free space, just so that you can kind of match up or line up the block to the knife and make sure you get the correct angles. What you want to try to do is try to get your block as close to the handle as you can, just so that you've got a more like solid connection here, and that you can actually hold the handle and use the roller, or you can hold on to the block and the handle at the same time, maybe something like this. Have a friend help you out if you need to, just so then you can use the roller to do whatever you got to do. But that's basically the logic, the mechanics behind all this. So the grinding side, right, the 400 grit grinding side, on that edge again, remember that tight edge, what we're doing is we're shaving off, we're grinding down this side of the knife, right, which is this side of the knife. We're grinding down this side of the knife, so that basically we're helping to create that 20 degree on this side, right? We're helping to create that 20 degree edge. So 20 degree, 20 degree, we're helping to create that 20 degree edge. The honing side, or the polishing side, what we're doing there is we're just smoothing it out so that you get nice, cleaner cuts. And also, if there was any kind of stray metal that had gone beyond the point, right? So here's one side, here's the other side, and here's the point. Sometimes on the top, on the point, you'll get one stray piece of metal that will fold over and make the knife dull in that one spot. That's how most people cut themselves, is with the dull spot. They're trying to cut through something, they force it, boom, the knife slips, you cut your fingertip, right? So we're trying to avoid that. The honing side will help to straighten out everything on top so that you get a sharper, cleaner, more efficiently running and operating knife, if that makes any sense. So now that we've made our connection, here's what it should look like from the side, right? You've got your block, you've got the back of your knife or the spine of your knife. Everything is kind of even. Everything is also flat to the surface. A bad example would be if you did something like this, right? Where now, look at that gap that you've got there. You don't want that. You want your block to be flat. You want your knife to be flat, and then basically connect the two together and try to get as close to the handle as you can, just for stability. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my grinding side and I'm going to start maybe a little bit off from the heel. So not exactly on the heel, but just a little bit off of the heel. And I'm going to go straight through in a smooth motion. So what it did there was as the wheel turns, right? Sounds like a soap opera. As the wheel turns, basically it's grinding this way down. And then the back side of the wheel is actually grinding upwards up. So you're kind of getting like a dual action, down and up. It's kind of making like a circular pattern as you run down or as you roll down the edge of the knife. And then when you come back, right? So you can kind of start this here. Remember, go to the tip and then just a little bit beyond just the tip, but go to the tip and a little bit beyond, and then come back. So I'm going to go through and back through, and back. See that? I would say about 4 or 5 passes on one side, and then we want to flip it. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that you get the grinding action on the heel, a little bit past the heel, on the tip, and a little bit past the tip. Now we're going to flip the script, right? We're going to turn this. So we did this side. Now we want to do this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to detach, bring my block over here. You can always check it, make sure you're at 20 degrees. Same thing, block is flat, knife is flat. I'm going to connect the two together. So notice now how the knife edge went this way. So that way we can hone, or we can grind down this side. So with the wheel, remember, or the roller or the drum, I'm basically going to turn this so that the grinding side is facing the knife. What I want to do is I want to do the same thing. You don't want to do it like this, right? You want to make sure that everything is even, parallel. You want to start a little past the heel, just go straight through, nice smooth. You can either hold the knife by the block, light pressure, you don't want to force it, but light pressure. You basically want to do, or you can hold it by the handle if you feel like you're going to get a more stable connection that way, just straight through. It's okay if you blip like that, if you make a little flubby and it goes back. Just make sure to just go through the area again. So I'm going to go through and then back. Very light pressure. Remember, you're just trying to grind off. You're just shaving off like microns, small amounts of metal from the edge. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to polish. So I'm going to use the polish side or the honing side to hone it out. Remember, right now at this point in time, there may be a little piece of metal that's sticking up that may have folded over this way, right? But because we're using it this way, a little piece of metal that was, if this is the angle from this side, a little piece of metal may have straightened out on top. And remember, that could roll over and then cause a dull edge or cause the edge of the knife that may cut you in the future. We want to just polish it smooth so that we straighten out everything, hone everything. So this is where I want to use this side. And I'm going to basically do the same thing. So I'm going to do about 2 or 3 passes with this. And then flip the script. And basically, you can always check it, right? Flat, 20, there you go. Now we've connected. And then I'm basically going to use the polishing side here and basically just do the same thing. Just go straight through, heel to the tip, heel to the tip. So very light pressure pushing this, right? I'm just using 2 fingers here. Very light pressure. Don't need a whole lot, but make sure you do have a solid grip on your knife, on the block or on the handle of the knife. You kind of get a sense. What you want to try to avoid is don't ever, I'm not going to do it, but you don't ever want to touch your knife edge. You may cut yourself, so just be careful. Anyways, when I'm done, what I usually do is I take that towel. Maybe you can moisten it a little bit, you know, with just a little bit of water, but just basically wipe your knife down and then just give it a quick test. So I've got a scratch piece of paper here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass it through. Nice clean cut, nice sharp edge. Not as sharp as I'd like it to be. I'll probably do another few passes on each. That'll be some tidy up time off camera. It's kind of hard to film these videos and actually do what I wanted to do, but you can kind of see that it's definitely cutting. It's definitely doing what it's doing. By the way, the true test of the sharpness of the knife is the tomato. So if you want to know how sharp your knife is, break out a tomato and cut the tomato. I try not to cut paper like this to tell how sharp my knife is, because when you cut paper like this, you're actually dulling the knife quicker. Some people, when they do these videos, they use cardboard and they're showing like, hey, I can cut through a piece of cardboard. It just dulls the knife quicker. So if you really want to know how sharp your knife is, get a tomato, cut through the top of the tomato. If it cuts through clean, that's how you know your knife is sharp enough. Don't overdo it. 5 times one side, 5 times in the other side. If your knife is really, really dull, like if you haven't sharpened it in a long time, you may want to do like 5 seconds on one side, 5 seconds on the other side, then go back and hone. Maybe 5 seconds of honing on this side, 5 seconds of honing on this side. But honestly, these things work great. Roller or drum and block, block and drum, roller and drum, whatever you want to call them. Anyways, good company, good product. I think this is definitely Old Coot product review approved. So I'll put a link down below in the description, also in the comment section. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. There'll also be some links down there to some other cool products, so make sure to check those out. I'm the Old Coot, and I'll catch you all on the next exciting video.